and welcome back to another episode of The Credit Authority. Once again, I am your host, Rhonda Kulch, and I am so glad that you joined us today. And now with us today in studio is Arthur Germain, Principal and Chief Brand Teller. And I just love what you do. So Arthur, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it, Rhonda.
You know, what happens is everybody loves to talk about storytelling, right? So tell us a little bit about really how you got started in, you call it brand telling because You're the expert, we hire people like you because people like me just like to talk all day. But it's really storytelling.
Sure. So brand telling, it's the name of my agency, but it's also the approach that we use to, what I like to say is to create, capture, and curate the many stories about how you work with your customers, with your employees, with the communities that you serve. And it's really about the process of putting together a story about the value that you provide. You could say, for example, in what you do, well, I work with clients, they meet with me on a regular basis, we do da-da-da-da-da, right? Mm-hmm. But that's kind of just the daily process, the output. But what you really want to do is talk about, I help clients go from this place in their lives to this place in their lives. I help them to achieve something they couldn't do on their own, on their guide, and I'm working along with them. What I find that lots of companies want to do is they try to make themselves the star and the hero in their story, and they're not. The hero in your story is your customer. It's your client. Think about Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is the hero of the story, even though his guide was Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan was the guide. That's you in the story. That's the position you want to take, and you want to help do it. And those 3 C's that I mentioned, the create your story, that's taking down and capturing the information about your story. The capture part is, so what have you done with customers? What have some of your partners done? Writing that down. And curating is the hard work, deciding what's a good story and what's a bad story. I've got tons of stories. I got just a little bit of time. Which stories am I going to share to make the most sense?
And I love that. And I think one of the things that you just said, is talking about how you could project and explain what the value of your service is, right? So it's, I wake up, I do a consult, but you're not giving I'll say the nuggets, right? To what's happening. And it sounds like a big part of what you're able to offer for the clients is you're giving them measurable results.
Yes. I completely agree. It's really output based. I say about branding, everybody knows what a brand is. They talk about the brand being the logo or the color or something. And I say, well, it is all of those things. They're part of the brand. For me, the brand is the story. It's what everyone's going to walk away with. If people who hear us walk away and go, oh, Arthur's that brand storytelling guy, I've done a good job telling my story, right? And so if you think about that, what you want to do is project the value and the benefit that you've provided. So I'm not saying all the time, exactly what I've done. Those are the steps, those are the approach, but I'm talking about what I'm going to do. And if you think about output-based, brand for me, brand is a measure of profitability. Lots of people will say, well, what's the ROI on my marketing? And what's that going to mean if I spend money on my brand? What's it going to mean for sales? And I say, sales has to do with your salespeople, but brand has to do with your profitability. So a lot of people look at that top line, the sales and what you're doing in your top line. The brand can help you on the top line, but it can certainly help you on the bottom line because you can sell for a higher margin because your brand is now seen and viewed as something that's better. So when you work with your customers, you're certainly trying to help them to enhance their brand so that they can lower their debt, so that they can raise that profitability. And that, for me, I think is really the unique when I see the light bulb go off for somebody and they're like, oh, if I have a better brand, if my brand is more well understood, I can sell at a higher margin, I can work with newer clients, I can go bigger, I can grow. Exactly. That's it. Stop thinking of your brand as some commodity. Think of your brand really as a high-end showpiece.
And I love that. Now, if I'm a business that's already established and in business, not me personally, let's just say.
Right.
And somebody they find you and they go, you know what, I'm really kind of just figuring out, is my message clear? Because some people already have an in-house, let's just say, marketing team or somebody that's already part of their team. And they don't want to offend anybody and making it appear as if they're not doing the appropriate job. But where do you step in, and how does somebody engage with you as almost like an independent to say, hey, I need you to come in. Where are the holes?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's often the role that I play. I'm that outside consultant that I come in to look, and I work with those in-house teams. They may have a marketing director. There may be a marketing vice president. I'm coming in to help them better focus and shape where the brand is going. So I may come in to look and say, does your brand story still fit? You've expanded. Think about what we all went through with COVID. I know I don't want to talk about it, right? But we've all gone through some shifts. Some companies have divested themselves of things they were doing. Some companies have combined, but they're all still using the same brand story, and they haven't changed a copy on their website. So what I often do is come in and say, so let's take a look at that, and can we reshape that, refocus it? Again, going back to those 3 C's, can we create, capture, and curate some new stories for you and put you in the right direction? With some companies, that's all I do is I help them point them in the right direction and do that. And with other companies, they hire me to write what I call their brand storybook. It's kind of a well of copy that we put together for them. And other I'll work with them to help them develop podcasts or ways to share what I call their story leadership, what most people call thought leadership, but a way to share that story where you're really truly sharing the value. So I try not to offend anyone, and walk in to work with a group that's there, and I can be their best friend because I can often say to their boss the thing that they're afraid to say. Hey, we need to make a change. Why? I don't ask Arthur, he said it. I can come in and say that and try to make people comfortable with that.
And I love it. Now, so excited for you, which of course we'll end up having to have you come back on another day, but so excited because you've officially launched your new book, The Art of Brand Telling. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. So The Art of Brand Telling, which you can get at theartofbrandtelling.com, is a book that's now available. I've made it available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle, and off my website as an ebook. And what I found was I have run this agency for 18 years. I have been a writer and a editor before that, and I've been involved in public relations, and I've taken all of the learnings, the lessons learned, and I've put this into the book. And it's a small book. It's 111 pages. It's got 12 chapters broken into these 3 sections. And what I try to do is guide someone through the idea of, so what is your brand? What is a brand story? How do you do some of the things that I've been talking about? And for me, in many ways, it's a way of giving back, especially with some of the smaller companies that may not be at a point or position where they can work with me. They can use the book and it can help guide them where they want to go. A lot of the smaller nonprofits, I think that they can really benefit from this. And to make sure it's beneficial, my editor, Mark Kinley, kind of challenged me, can you give everybody a real something to do after each chapter? So at the end of each chapter is an area I call considerations, and there are 3 things. Go get a notepad and paper and write these things down, and these are the challenges for you. Now that you've read this chapter, go do these things and write them down. If you do that, I believe you'll be able to improve and drive your brand and your brand story forward.
And I think what happens when you take the time to write it down, it becomes real.
That's right. Just like a goal, right? A goal is, it's a wish if you just say it. It's a goal if you write it down. Boy, I wish that I was making more money. I wish that I was doing this. Let's write down those goals. Everyone's afraid to write them down. Oh, look, my pen ran out of ink. No, write the goal down. Write down what you want to, who do you serve? I think people are always afraid. I have a chapter where I said, people always say, oh, I serve everybody. And I go, no, you don't. Mm-hmm. My wife makes these beautiful decorated cookies. And I said, you know who she sells to? Women. Women always buy her cookies. Men eat them, but women are the people who purchase them. So she's got to gear her marketing to the women who are going to buy it.
And I think it's just important. And just to kind of piggyback off of that, I just said to somebody yesterday, we were in an entrepreneur meeting, and I said, an idea is just an idea if there's no implementation behind it. So with that said, feel free to go visit my friend Arthur Germain. Look him up. Go to theartofbrandtelling.com. Download your free book. We will post more information on how you can follow Arthur. Until next time, stay tuned. We're getting ready to bring you another guest.